I think one of the most interesting things about the FireDen is everybody shows up and they're asking me, like, hey, where's the campfire, Sam? Like, we're in the FireDen. Stephen Rosen calls it the wolf den. Chip Israel's like, no, it's the bear den. We're sitting here hanging out with everyone. So I think next year, like, we're going to have to get a fake fire, you know.
Yeah, I wanted like a blanket and some slippers.
Exactly. Blanket, slippers, and s'mores.
And if you can't have a real fire in a convention center, maybe something that crackles to give me that vibe. And maybe some essential oils that are smoky to kind of create that fire.
Smoky essential oil.
Yeah.
You know, and we're in Vegas, so essential oils are like an essential part of everything.
Yeah.
I just walk around and I smell myself all day. I'm like, oh, you were at the Bellagio last night.
Wow, Sam, that's interesting.
I know, right?
That's maybe we should talk hygiene.
I know, right? It's just crazy.
Are we on right now?
Yeah, Vegas has all these smells. Welcome to the FireDen.
Hey, I am so enthusiastic to be in the FireDen, Sam. I mean, I've been walking by the FireDen all week. I've been bumping from booth to booth, and I'll tell you, like, it's been hopping with some lighting VIPs. That streak just ended, but some lighting industry VIPs have been through here, and I'm sure shared some compelling information with your audience. And I think that the FireDen has become a top 10 Las Vegas attraction for tourists. And you know, if you think about it, Sam, like that Ferris wheel that you see on the strip there, the high roller, you go on that after like 2.5-3 minutes, it's just lame. It's lame. It's not like the FireDen where the conversations are lit. And then, you know, the Venetian, they have that you know, the gondola ride at the Venetian. You pay $150 for 2 people, and then you're floating by like an Auntie Anne's pretzels. You're not in the canals of Venice. You're in the Venetian casino.
And it's so good.
Yeah, but they don't have that in Italy. Come on, get out of here. So the Venetian gondola ride, some guy from Henderson, Nevada, who doesn't have one strand of Italian DNA is serenading you with That's Amore. That is not a top 10 attraction. The FireDen at the Las Vegas Convention Center during Light Fair Week is a must-see for everyone. This has been fantastic. So congratulations on the awesome week you've had.
Thanks, man. We're having a lot of fun. You know, it's all about kind of creating that casual environment. It's about having real conversations, literally lit conversations. You can take the pun, you can kick the pun, you can send it home. I don't really care. I mean, we literally had our feet up on this table. Now we're sitting on stools. Like, there's no script. There's nothing rehearsed here. What this is all about is just literally giving the community not only an opportunity to connect, but also understand what's going on. Share that with more than just the people that are here for this conversation. By streaming this live, by putting it out in the world, and then, of course, making it available to the community without making them pay for anything after the fact. It's super important. You have literally been running around.
Yes.
I know you said you've seen us. Trust me, we've seen you. Oh, there goes Al. Oh, there goes Al. You've been bopping around this show nonstop since you showed up. Tell me a little bit about what it's like to have been here and just like seeing, can I say commotion? Like, it was insanity.
Activity. Yeah, lots of activity.
Yeah, what's it been like?
So it's been great. So like a lot of people that have been through the FireDen this week, I'm a Light Fair veteran. I've been going to most of them since the early 90s. But at the same time, you know, I think it's a game of expectations. If we're trying to compare it to past Light Fairs where there were 20,000 plus people, then you know, there's different things. So I just try to make the best out of what's in front of you. And that's what I think most people here had. It's like the people who are here want to be here. And I think that in the past when you might have had, you know, a quick 20 to 30 second chit chat with someone and then someone interrupts and you move on to the next conversation, you leave Vegas or wherever Light Fair is thinking that, oh, all I did is have like 120 second conversations with people. But now that stop and chat can be 3 minutes and 4 minutes of meaningful conversation, and maybe you discover a common business goal or something else that helps that partnership and collaboration with an exhibitor or a fellow attendee or someone who spoke at a conference. So I think that's been fun to see people connect in a less frantic way, but still the buzz and the activity of you know, 10,000 plus lighting people coming in one place to achieve what they want to achieve. We all have different goals here, and I think you and I have much different businesses. You know, with Inside Lighting, we one of our goals, which is consistent with yours, is to bring Light Fair to the people who aren't here. So yeah, over the course of the 3 days, recorded 21 video interviews with different exhibitors and executives, and some of them were in partnership with Light Fair itself, to bring those stories of the peoples and the products and the brands and the technologies to the people who didn't make it here. And I think that's really important in a way that can, you know, help people at home feel somewhat connected to the event, but also help maybe create a sense of FOMO for those who aren't here saying, darn it, you know what, I can't be on the sidelines next year, let's come be a part of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody comes here, like you said, kind of with their own goals and their intentions, and that's something that we have to not only acknowledge but respect and kind of start to understand. Have they shifted over time? You know, are they the same that they were 10 years ago as they are today? Absolutely not. Are they the same from New York last fall to Vegas this spring to going back to New York next year? Absolutely not. You know, talk to me about that change that you've seen on the show and where you think it's kind of become innovative, or where you think it maybe still just needs a little bit of work.
Well, I think the innovation is with some of the advanced technologies. People didn't know what Bluetooth mesh was. I should say many people didn't know what Bluetooth mesh was. 4 to 6 years ago, and now that seems to be a technology that people are embracing, but using it in so many different ways. So on the control side, there's so many things happening. But the glass half empty perspective of the control side is that there weren't a long list of pure play controls exhibitors here, but the ones that were here were showing some great stuff. And then as far as just seeing the other things, so I look at things maybe through the lens of a marketer, so seeing the way that the booths are being presented to be more interactive or immersive and, or creative, or even with some of the messaging about sustainability and things like that. So it's not just about shoving a new high bay down a visitor's throat. It's about kind of more of a story than it is about a product and the different lumen options and color options.
Absolutely. Is there any booth specifically that just totally stood out to you and you're like, damn, that's cool?
Besides the FireDen? I mean, it's top 10, Sam.
Yeah, besides the FireDen.
Yeah, so there's a few of them. Like for instance, I'd seen 3D printing before, but I'd never seen it up close and personal with the variety of fixtures that I saw in the Cooper Lighting Solutions booth. I had a silly photo taken at the encouragement of someone you know, Lance Bennett, who's well known in specification circles. He noticed that my large frame, for those that don't know, they meet me, they say, I didn't know you were that tall. I'm 6'5". For your European audience, I'm 195 centimeters tall. And there was a perfect 3D printed pendant that if I put my head in it just hit the top of my shoulders. And it was a great photo with me talking to someone else we know, Sohana, with the microphone. So that was fun. So seeing those 3D printed pictures was great. And then the biophilic lighting, I know that you partnered with some biophilic lighting companies in the past, and I haven't had a chance to experience that. And so being in a concrete convention center that, with all due respect to who designed this, it's not meant to be like a built environment of health and wellness, right?
Yeah.
And then I walk into this booth that has biophilic lighting. It was just, I felt like I was in an atrium, and that was a sensation that I could read about on a spec sheet or a brochure, or I could see a video about it, but I truly didn't get to experience it until I walked into that booth, and immediately I enjoyed the sensation, and I think it actually, in health and wellness, I think I'm actually healthier and more well as a result.
That's awesome. I mean, I definitely agree. There's experience, right?
Yeah.
And that's what Light Fair is about. It's about an experience. Some of it's on the trade show floor, some of it's with these booths and these manufacturers. There's so much more that goes on at Light Fair as part of this organized event. What else have you seen that's been exciting?
It's I think part of why people leave Light Fair exhausted, but also on a high, like a emotional high, is because if you've been in this industry for 4, 5, 6 years or more, there's going to, and if you have a job that has you travel the country, you're going to see a friend a few times a day, or maybe a few hundred times a day, because depending on how long you've been in this industry. And I think that's part of it. It's like a high school reunion, but instead you like the people here. It's really fun. Yeah. So I like that part of it, and I think that's an experience that people leave with. It's not why you come to Light Fair, but it's a nice positive side effect of the experience.
Yeah. Have you gotten a chance to attend any of the happy hours or any of the social events and check that out? I mean, I've literally been stuck here in the FireDen the entire time, and I'm just curious.
So Sam, this is where you and I are now kind of on the same page as well, because look, when I was a broken down factory guy, Light Fair was always 2/3 work, 1/3 fun. go to the hotel, oh, my feet and my back hurt, and then you go to sleep. Now it's like 95% work, 5% fun. You go to the hotel and you can't go to sleep because you got to do the content production and those videos, and oops, that exposure on that video wasn't the great. So it's really like limited sleep, but for the wrong reasons. I wasn't at the nightclub or the steakhouse last night. I was in my hotel room producing content for many of the same people you are in different ways.
Dude, it sounds like we got to make a accountability buddy agreement for LifeFair next year. That we gotta go to a happy hour, go see people.
Nah, Sam, you could say that, but I know that's an empty promise because that's not going to happen. You're going to be too busy. I'm going to be too busy. But here's what we do: bring some brown liquor into the booth, and let's get lit in the FireDen.
I mean, I'm drinking Red Bull, and it's not even noon, so I'll give it a thought. It's not a bad idea.
But I saw you pour something in the Red Bull, Sam. Don't try to be all innocent.
You're right. That was the Red Bull from last night. I don't know what got poured in that. When you think about what's going on in our industry right now, you mentioned that there's some flirtation of controls on the show floor and stuff like that going on. What else are you seeing just kind of industry-wide that's exciting for you right now?
I guess the normal answer would go somewhere towards innovation or product innovation, but again, maybe it's because of my business now. I see things through the lens of how a business operates or how they market themselves, and so it's just I think, and I said this even when I was a broken down factory guy, that the lighting industry lags other industries, or at least 5-10 years ago it lagged other industries in the areas of compelling marketing and telling stories in a way that gathers attention rather than just saying, hey, here's my new product. And I love seeing what some of the brands are doing. Some of the oldest brands have just great marketing, and then some of the new brands come on and do things in a different way. I think the word disruptive is overused. There's only a small portion of people that can be really considered disruptive, but seeing things in a creatively positive way is that. So just seeing the branding and the way people bring stories out in a way is good. And even the booth staff is trained to not just recite the lumen outputs and it's 347 volt compatible. They kind of, at least the good ones, are doing a way to kind of, if they're going to talk about 3D printing, they might talk about sustainability or convenience or circular economy to kind of do the preface to that story to get the listener engaged.
I mean, speaking of branding, there's a big banner over there that says Current. They completely rebranded their company. Yeah. There's a lot of innovation on the marketing side, and just to your point, that's storytelling and that messaging. I feel like product isn't innovating as fast as it used to. I don't know if that's an economic thing, if that's a supply chain thing, if that's manufacturers are responsible for 5 times as much today as they used to be. But people are definitely having to start to get creative with what they want to show, because it's not 2014 where LEDs are just getting popped into everything and new light fixtures are going out of style faster than sliced bread because we've got so much of it. You know? What do you think's happening on that innovation side that might start to spark new form factors, or what I'll just call that sparkle in the booth that we kind of sort of haven't really seen lately?
Well, I think part of it might be because we've been trained to see both big brands and small brands have dozens of new product launches every year, and that's because there's I'm sure people in your audience have catalogs somewhere in a dusty bookshelf somewhere that is 10 plus years old with lots of conventional product in there, HID wall packs and fluorescent high bays and or even fluorescent linear slot, right? So all those products don't exist anymore. So the amount of innovation that happened when the knee-jerk reaction was to, okay, let's throw LEDs into the housings of these conventional fixtures, which was kind of a quick way to market, but not a perfect way to market, and then all the design-in happened to create all the other innovations. So if we're trained to see all those product launches all the time, we might be disappointed. But what I'm excited about, which was your question, and I know I'm rambling, so I apologize, but the question of what I'm excited about is seeing now the LED and the lighting technology now being married in with other systems. So, we like to live in, the lighting fixture schedule world, but we're all seeing the controls, and it's nothing new. Controls have been part of building management, or lighting rather, has been part of building management systems going back to the 90s, but that was more in a clunky analog way, and now, of course, we're seeing things in this digital world that's rapidly changing. So I love the fact that we're bringing in new things, and I love seeing some really big names in our architectural lighting and also some not so big names in architectural lighting getting into acoustic lighting. And then they're not just doing acoustic lighting, because when you have an acoustic light fixture in a room, you're not going to space those every 4 feet, so you have non-lighting acoustic, you basically acoustic panels without light. And so like those types of things where these companies can provide a solution that is mostly or partly lighting, but also in other areas. And we visited a booth where they have a notification for cities if there's a tornado or an Amber Alert or whatever. You can have those types of technologies intermixed into a smart city. So I think that's the exciting part, is that lighting is becoming part of this ecosystem with a small e, not a branded ecosystem, but this ecosystem of building and city components that matter and make a difference in a positive way.
It's the component nature of making them smart components, of making them talk together, of making everything happen and come together. A lot of what we've been doing here in the FireDen is obviously sitting down with the design community, researchers, analysts, folks like you who are running around reporting on absolutely everything that's going on in the show floor. And I think, one of the biggest common threads right now is all the focus on not only sustainability, but diversity, equity, inclusion, and in looking at that from a fundamental perspective of the people in this industry, how companies operate, how they take these initiatives and they apply it to their people, they apply it to their business practices, and most importantly, they apply it to literally every last thing that their brand touches.
Yeah.
It's a transformational time in our industry. When you look at your crystal ball, I know you have one.
I do.
You didn't bring it.
The lighting industry crystal ball every January.
I know you have a lighting industry crystal ball. When you look into it, what do you think some of the most transformational things are going to be between this time at the FireDen and next time at the FireDen?
Now, are you asking that in the context of diversity, equity, inclusion, or just in general?
I'm just saying, in general.
Okay.
We've got these new lowest common denominators.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We've got a huge push around diversity. We've got a huge push around sustainability.
Yeah.
They are the two biggest topics that every design, every manufacturer, every researcher has been talking to us about. And I feel like it's starting to really bring things together.
Yeah.
So I want to know what your crystal ball says.
Okay, in that context there. Okay. So I'm not trying to be glass half empty on this, but I'm trying to be realistic with my response. When we look at the changes that happen in diversity, equity, inclusion, a lot of times it takes generation to generation to be more tolerant. I know that, as a middle schooler in the 80s, that the tolerance for people, like the words that we threw around in the locker room that people giggled at, were just completely offensive, but it was normal back then. And thankfully my kids who went to high school more recently, in recent years I should say, don't do those types of things, and they have friends that are LGBTQ plus, and so those types of things are where this generation is more tolerant than the last generation. Now, I'm not saying that we have to wait a generation to see those things happen, but fundamentally, those things take time. You see people in their 80s right now that still have deep-rooted bad opinions and viewpoints on things because that's the way they were raised. But in the sense of some of the current themes, 2 years ago, after the tragedy involving George Floyd, there was a flurry of companies in all industries putting out statements about anti-police brutality, but also pro-equity. And when I contemplated doing a story a year later, so summer of 2021, a year after all those statements came out, I searched for companies that had something solid to say about, here's our statement, and here's the changes we've seen in the last year. Now, I'm not saying that everyone failed at it, but there wasn't enough of a story to put together in 1 year's time to point at things. Now, a company like Signify reports on how many female managers they have year over year, and that number ticked up nicely. So there are some things there, but I wish that we could accelerate through those things, because if you look around the aisles, it's still there's an obvious lack of diversity at a show like this. It's an industry that lacks a lot of diversity.
And I think it's not only people, it's like products, and you mentioned 3D printing and acoustics. We're starting to diversify what our industry does, right? And with the diversification of products, we have to bring in people with different backgrounds.
Yeah.
And it's just it's obviously so broad, but I think what's so cool is the industry is really starting to embrace it. To your point, they're maybe not categorizing it as much as they could, but I think people can do a better job of that too. And I'm just curious, if you've seen any more of that, or if you've seen any initiatives across some of these bigger companies, because I know you're super plugged into them.
Yeah, well, what I would say is that I guess I haven't seen the initiatives, and I'm not in the inner workings of it, right?
Yeah.
These human resources department might be doing some great things to, if they put a stack of 50 resumes in front of a hiring manager, maybe there's an intentional, putting equal opportunity employer to the really rocking the walk in that sense. So there could be many things happening that just you and I wouldn't have visibility to.
Sure.
But I'm hopeful that these things will stay in the forefront, that will encourage this to happen. But a lot of the feeder into our industry is the STEM side of things with technical and all that stuff. So I'm hopeful that there'll be more diverse people that come out of those STEM universities and colleges or technical learning institutes to enter our industry, and that our industry will embrace those new hires. And I'm also encouraged things by it's not lighting, but it's more big picture. The AIA is doing some great things to include that, because the AIA also lacks diversity. It's over 80% male and less than 10% African American.
Right?
Yeah,
we've got this big problem. We're trying to solve it all.
Yeah.
Well, I think that we're going to get a chance to see more of these companies do more of this stuff in the future.
Good.
I'm excited about it, and it sounds like you're seeing a little bit of it. I know I'm seeing a little bit of it. Yeah. Hopefully we're going to continue to see more of it.
Yeah.
I know that it's something that we've talked to a lot of people about in terms of in the small businesses, right?
Yeah.
We got to get some of these bigger businesses on board and get them to maybe quantify that a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because they're doing it. They're just not talking about it.
But one thing I'll say about that is getting the big businesses on board is important, but it gets down to the individual level.
Yeah.
If there's a small room of 4 or 5 managers that are having a meeting and HR is not involved and corporate governance isn't involved, those 4 or 5 managers can make a decision that is anti-diversity. So it really needs to be there needs to be a culture where, like in my early days in my career, I was in sales calls. I was living in New York at the time, but I was in a different part of the country, and I heard the N-word used in sales calls. It was incredible, and one of them came from a customer. So these types of things, that needs to be. And you know what? I was 20-something years old. I was wearing a suit, pretending to be an adult, but I didn't know how to handle that situation. So I didn't giggle. I didn't support it, but I didn't speak up. But now I know better, and we need to speak up when we see something wrong. When I think that the people that in the past have been, when you witness something that something is said or done that is wrong, you don't just look the other way and say that wasn't me. You say something when you see something wrong, and I think that's important.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. I think it really just spans across everything, right?
Yeah.
Like, we got to get manufacturers more excited about diversifying their portfolios. We've got to get more excited about diversifying innovation, bringing those connected systems together, finding people with different diverse backgrounds and bringing them together. And of course, looking at solving our problem, which is, we sort of demographically speaking have always kind of gravitated along with the rest of the design industry. AIA National is happening in Chicago. It started today.
2 days ago. Yeah.
So we'll have to keep an eye on that.
Yeah.
And then we'll have to catch up and figure out what's going on up there. I didn't know they had their big program, so I'll check in on that. That's a good approach.
There we go.
Tell me one last thing before we let you go. This is a mandatory question. You can't leave the FireDen until you answer it.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I'm ready, but who's going to stop me? Which of your staff is going to stop me if I decide to leave?
Oh, I'll tackle you. What else is lit in your life?
What else is lit in my life?
Yeah.
Well, Sam, I am. You started a business about 8 months before I really went all in on inside lighting. So the last 2 years for me, I've been eating my face off and throwing the fitness out the window. And now, Sam, I'm launching AL 3.0, which will involve me launching my second midlife crisis by the end of the year. I'm going to reach my goals. I think I'm on pace to reach my goals by early or mid-November.
Okay.
And I'm excited about the progress I'm making on some of the things I'm doing personally. I'm going to reward myself, and I already booked it, a month-long Airbnb on South Beach in Miami for the entire month of December. Because you and I, it's hard for us to vacation because you kind of got to milk the cows every day with the type of work that we do. So I'm like, well, maybe I can just work a few hours in the morning and then go to the beach in the afternoon. And I'm on the Eastern time zone, which is important for my work. So it's that's going to be my reward in December. So that's what I'm excited about. We're going to continue to personally develop through the end of the year. and then end it with New Year's Eve in South Beach.
You know, that doesn't sound too shabby. I'm proud of you for, taking the time to treat yourself to what you deserve. I think it's really important. Like, we all work so hard in this industry, and at the end of the day, when you get tired, you got to take a break.
Yeah.
So, I'm not so sure if you're going to get, well rested on South Beach, because I can see you running down the beach, having a couple cocktails. But hopefully you'll take a nap in between, and then I'll get some writing done.
For sure.
I'll try and come visit you. That sounds like fun.
Come on down, Sam. If you're in the audience, you're welcome to hit me up on inside.lighting. And I'd like to take a moment to tell you how much I appreciate. We met during the pandemic early on. We discovered that we were kind of rooting for each other to kind of grow our personal businesses. And I appreciate your friendship very much. But even more than that, I admire what you do every day, and also appreciate you do a lot of things on camera, but probably for every minute of produced video you do on camera, there's probably 5 to 10 hours of work behind the scenes that happens to produce that. Maybe I'm low on that number too. So you and the team, who maybe doesn't get as much camera time, but your team is fantastic and collaborative and well respected, and I am rooting for Light Eye like no one's business. I'm happy to see your success. And are you year 3 now? You're 3 years old, I should say?
My wife asked me how old I was the other day, and I couldn't remember.
You started this in 2019.
But if I do the math, I believe we are we're 3 years complete, headed into our 4th year.
So I mean, you're beyond like wondering if this thing's going to work out, right? I mean, so now it's just a matter of how are you going to continue to bring what your audience wants to see, and the manufacturers who partner with you think highly of you. When I speak with IALD members and other architectural lighting design community members, you're like they're such fans of yours, and it's not like you're trying to be an influencer. It's because of the work that you're doing. So hats off to Light Eye.
Thanks, man. We're a cheerleader for lighting. That's what we're here for, and that includes you. So thanks for stopping by. Stay lit. Come back with s'mores to the FireDen next year. We'll have blankets. We'll have slippers. And we'll have a fake fire. Sound good?
Sounds good. Thank you, Sam.
See you, dude.
All right. Happy Light Fair.
Really? Nice. Okay, so we're going to go live at any moment in time. No, I'm just kidding. We're always live. So, Annalisa, basically, here's the situation. We're in the FireDen.
Tell me.
At Light Fair.
Yes.
Which means it's warm, it's cozy, it's fun.
Yes.
And we do two things. We talk about lit conversations.
Uh-huh.
But that's kind of like where we end. Where we start is, tell me how you're feeling. It's the last day of Light Fair. You're the last person in the FireDen before everybody goes home.
Yes.
So, what's it been like?
It's been awesome.
Yeah?
It's been awesome. It's really great to see everybody in person. I've really enjoyed that. The classes have been on point. All the presenters have been really engaging, so that was a lot of fun. I just spoke, and that's over, so that's a relief. Yeah, it's been great.
It sounds like you've pretty much done everything that Light Fair has to offer.
Yeah, we were able to come and tour the floor and do the classes and have a little fun on the side. I did the worm at a party, so
you were the one who did the worm.
They started calling me the yellow worm.
Really? I heard, like, yesterday somebody was doing the worm at a party.
It was me.
It was you.
Unless there's another crazy person out there, it was me.
When you do the worm, do you do it, like, backwards or forward?
Both.
You can go both ways?
Yes.
That's incredible. Because it's easier to go backwards when you're doing the worm than it is forward.
I agree.
Right?
I agree.
But you can do it both ways.
Yes.
Okay, so you've got some worm talent.
Yeah, hidden. Yes, I'm always prepared at a wedding.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty exciting, actually. When you think about what it's like to be back here and to see all the people, did you feel like you had some anticipation around that, or was it just like, oh, I'm gonna go and it's gonna happen, and then it happened? You're like, this is sick.
I think, well, to be brutally honest, I've been so busy that I just, didn't even think about it until Sunday.
Yeah.
But I think the most exciting part was getting to see everybody in person again, and because those in-person relationships are super important, right? And when you're in class and it's online, and then you're like checking your emails and you're doing the texts and the messaging and you're not paying attention, right? And so I think the in-person learning is super important, and just building relationships and being able to see everybody in person again is awesome.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
As you walked around and saw the show floor, was there anything that just like totally popped out and you got super excited about?
I saw some fun wood fixtures that were like this cool wavy thing. I really enjoyed the magnetic track stuff. I was able to play a little bit with that. So there's definitely some really cool stuff out on the floor.
Magnetic track, like
yes.
like slides in and it doesn't like have to lock into place or anything anymore?
No.
Is it big or is it miniaturized? I feel like I've heard a lot about this stuff, but I haven't gotten to see it.
I think I've seen different varieties. Like I've seen big ones, I've seen the small ones. The one that we saw, I think it was a whack one. Don't quote me on that, but it was pretty small. It was like 1.5 inches wide.
That's awesome.
Great. And
that's so cool.
I couldn't get the fixture. They had a bunch of fixtures on the wall, and I couldn't get it off the wall. I thought it was fixed mounted, and I didn't want to rip it off. And he just came over and he was like, "Here."
So it was like almost like an illusion.
Yeah.
Like, what was going to happen? You're like, oh, that's cool.
Let me know if you need me to open some pickle jars for you too.
That's actually pretty cool. You mentioned that you did some classes too. It's kind of cool how this place combines education, being able to see stuff, being able to see people, and then of course, it's a destination. We're in Las Vegas. Did you get to do anything fun in Vegas while you were here?
We went to so many great parties.
Yeah.
The parties were so fun, and then we had a little chill time downtime at the pool. The West Gate is right there. It was a 0.3-mile walk, so it was really easy to get around.
Easy to get around, easy to see people, easy to do everything you needed to do. Was there anything, like from a thematic standpoint, or anything you felt like you saw that you totally didn't expect to see when you were here, whether it was like someone or something?
I don't think so.
No. You feel like you know what's going on in this industry.
Yeah, I think I've been to Light Fair enough that we kind of know what to expect.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You're a lighting designer. We go way back in Denver, Colorado, learning all about lighting and then practicing lighting. And you work at BG Building Works now. You're doing some pretty cool stuff. What's exciting for you when you look at the design challenges in this industry and what you're able to do to solve them at this point?
Yeah, that's a great question. I love designing. I'm really excited about some of the newer technology, like the tunable technology, and really learning more about that and how and where to apply that best. I'm also really excited about building design, lead design, even if it's not for the certification necessarily. I'm excited to dig into how do we do this better. One thing that I have been chewing on is how do we bring the light down to a task level to save on watts per square foot, to help with circadian rhythm, to increase the light levels where you need it, and decrease the light levels where you don't need it. So that's something that I've been chewing on, but still provide some of that ambient lighting that you always need, and how to create those light and dark spaces in the best way possible.
That's interesting. Task lights are an obvious answer.
Yeah.
But task lights and the specifiable world are kind of complicated.
Yeah.
Because they're not a fixed thing. You can't necessarily control what you need to control.
Yeah.
So when you think about bringing light down to the task, are you evaluating existing form factors and ways they deliver light? Are you looking for new form factors? Are you looking for just something totally new that doesn't exist?
Maybe all those things, right? I think you said it, task lighting is a super obvious answer, but if it's a house, you don't want a table lamp on your kitchen island or something.
Yeah.
And so how do we use existing forms in a new creative mounting way? Or maybe we work with a manufacturer to make something totally different. I don't know. But that's something I've been chewing on for a while. Is how do we put the light where we need it and take it away from where we don't need it? I was sitting in the conference rooms and they're actually really well done. The lighting in the conference rooms is really well done. I commend those lighting designers, but to be honest, was having a really hard time focusing on watching their faces because the vertical planes were all just this blanket foot candle of lighting, and it was really hard to pull out their faces when I'm just looking at this haze of light. So how do we put the light where we need it?
And to your point, the task isn't just on a horizontal plane.
Right.
The task is very much a vertical plane, whether or not it's literally a human's face in space or something else that we're looking at. That's cool. When you think about the design challenges that encompass that, if you could build anything, what would it be to solve it?
That's so interesting. I've thought about, can we use cantilevered fixtures more? Can we drop pendants in a unique way that's unobstructive?
Sure.
But it totally depends on the application, right? You don't maybe want a long linear pendant in a residence. Maybe you do.
That's good. I like that. We have one more question in the conversation. It's a requirement. You can't leave the FireDen until I answer it. Are you ready for it?
I'm ready.
What else is lit in your life?
What else is lit in my life? I live in the best place on earth. I'm very blessed to live in the mountains in Colorado, and everything is right there. I have a 2-minute drive to work. I can walk out the door and go hiking. I can walk out the door and go biking. Everything about where I live is just super conducive to health and well-being, being outdoors, having fun, getting to play. So I feel like that's it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think where you live and being lit about it is a good thing.
Yeah.
We'll let you out of the FireDen. You can go from the fake fire and the fake s'mores to the real fire and the real s'mores in the mountains. But come back and see us anytime.
Thank you, Sam.
Good to talk to you.
You
See you
too.
soon. Bye.